Okay, let her rip, Ed. Okay, I'm going to call to order the April 19th Board of Supervisors meetings. Please stand for the pledge. And Mr. Monroe, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for those serving our country, both at home and abroad. Thank you. Okay. First up tonight is announcements. Ms. Frescator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have some announcements on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department. The Rubber Ducky Regatta tickets are on sale. I have tickets if anybody's interested.
So do I.
For the event on May 20th. Tickets are available online at Citadel, the library, Township building, at Parks and Rec office. 5 duckies for $20. Discount tickets are also available at Parks and Recreation. We have Regal movie tickets for $9.50. Amusement park and local attraction tickets should arrive by the end of April. Tickets are sold Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the Warminster Community Park office. Check online for the tickets or call the office. Bucks County 2018 annual dog licenses are available, also from 9 to 4. Dog wardens will be canvassing Bucks County in late April, checking for licenses and rabies inoculation. Don't risk being fined. Membership to the Bark Park are available for purchase. New members must complete an application, provide proof of rabies inoculation, a current dog license, and attend an education class. Classes start April 25th, May 10th, and May 21st. Please call for times to register. Join other volunteers community park pickup being held April 1st through May 31st. Volunteers are needed to clean up around schools, parks, highways, train tracks, and other public areas. Nice community service if you've got some children or grandchildren that might want to help out with that too. The Parks and Rec office will provide free trash bags, gloves, safety vests, and certificates of participation. Pick up on the date and time that you choose. Save the date. Warminster Day will be held Saturday, June 9th from 11 to 4 at Warminster Community Park. It's our anniversary celebration with family activities, music, game, and contest. We need some volunteers. You can volunteer for as little as 2 hours on that day, but we need volunteers to help out. We welcome other businesses to join our sponsors, so if you know any other businesses that would like to help out. And check online for Parks and Recreation for any of these items or go to the website. Thank you. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Frescator. Mr. Monroe.
I have no announcements today.
Thank you. Mr. McPhillips.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to remind everyone that Saturday, April 28th, is the next National Prescription Drug Drop-Off Day. It'll happen from 10 to 2. There'll be locations all throughout Bucks County. But as you know, Mr. Chairman, every day here in Warminster can be a prescription drug drop-off day. Any day you can go and drop off your unwanted, unused prescription medications here at the Warminster Police Department. And in fact, this month, April, marked 6 years since we've had our drop-off box. We've taken back thousands of pounds. And I can't thank Chief Donnelly and the Warminster Police Department enough because they're the ones that make this program happen. For the last 6 years, we talked about this opiate crisis. We talked about how it affects individuals, their families, their friends. But one thing that we really haven't talked about is the pharmaceutical companies and the role that they play in this epidemic. And Mr. Chairman, what I would recommend in a future meeting, possibly in July, we talk about a possible legal action against pharmaceutical companies and the role that they're playing and how it's affecting our community.
Well, let me ask you a question. Isn't there some type of class action suit going on countywide?
There is. What it is, Ben Salem
Right.
has a suit against them, and they have one law firm, and then the County of Bucks also took legal action, and they have another law firm. So we have two options here. We could join on that class action, or we can go on our own law firm, pick our own law firm. And what happens is they would work on a contingency basis,
Right.
where we would pay nothing until we were successful in the suit. If we did, the rate's about 20%. The award, we'd pay 20% of the award. So
I'm game for discussing it. I'm sure the board doesn't have a problem with putting that on future agenda. When we work on future agenda later in the meeting, we can.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go ahead and have a discussion with the solicitor about it. Mr. McPhillis mentioned July. Is that when you'd want, or does it not really?
I would think that, it would too soon. Give us some time.
Okay, sometime in the summer.
If the district attorney would like to come talk to us about it, the future meeting, would be glad to have him.
I talked to him a couple different times about this. I talked to the mayor, Ben Samo, about this and the legal action they're taking. And actually, Chief Donnelly was nice enough to have a conversation with me and about this. And there's definitely money that we can recapture that we spent towards this.
Absolutely.
Crisis,
Just with the Narcan hits that our police
correct.
have to do
Correct.
constantly.
But,
So I'm in.
thank you,
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
We're in.
All right, Mr. Crowley.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to welcome new businesses to town. Would like to welcome Namaste Indian Bistro, that serves Indian food, at 876 East Street Road. Joe and Tina's Pizzeria relocated from their prior location to 77 Downey Drive. Mattress by Appointment is now at 1043 County Line Road. The Great American Smoke Shop, which is a tobacco shop, is at 455 York Road. Warminster Baseball Center is located at 1115 Mearns Road. Cheers to You, which is a shop that specializes in doing bridal hair and makeup, is at 228 York Road. And Q&B Bank relocated to 1402 West Street Road. And also want to just inform everybody of our Economic Development Committee May Business of the Month, who will be recognized later on. It's Citadel Bank at 836 West Street Road in Warminster, PA. We want to congratulate them. We'll have more to say in June about that.
Okay.
But congratulations, Citadel. And thank you, sir.
Excellent. I have a couple of announcements. I don't know if Ms. Frescatore touched on that, but May the 5th is the electronics take back at the community park. Ms. Frescatore brought that in last year, and there was lines into that park to drop off electronics, so.
It was really successful.
Yeah, in fact, I took a few over, so anyone that has any electronics, you can't put them to the curb anymore. Take them over there, and it's for a good cause, too, that the money goes to, so please do on May the 5th before you go out for Cinco de Mayo. And I also want to recognize a Jaden Walsh, who's in the house with us tonight, who's a local Boy Scout who's here studying local government, and he'll be spending a meeting with us. In fact, during public comment, maybe you come up and tell us a little bit about yourself. So, but during public comment, I'll give you a shout, Jaden. But thanks for being here tonight. So also, we had an executive session prior to tonight's meeting. Mr. Bartle, you want to cover that, please?
Yes, the board met in executive session this evening, beginning at 6 o'clock in the room adjacent to this one. The board discussed two matters in the executive session. The first is a potential matter of litigation, and the second was a personnel matter. Both of those matters are legitimate subject of executive session pursuant to Pennsylvania Sunshine Law. The executive session ended immediately before this meeting, so it lasted about 60 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bartle. Okay, first up on tonight's agenda is a check for presentation to the VFW for our upcoming Memorial Day Parade. I'm going to ask Commander Alex DeVille to come up and take the check. Come on up, Commander. Commander, thanks for coming over tonight, and on behalf of the board, I want to tell you how grateful we are that the VFW puts a ton of work into this Memorial Day Parade. For anyone that hasn't done it in the past, it starts here at the Township building. We go over Street Road, and we end up at the VFW on Lewis Drive, where the VFW folks are kind enough to put out hot dogs and refreshments for everyone. So this is a check for $7,500 from the Township to pay for everything, but it doesn't pay for all the labor and work that you guys put into it. So I want to say thank you.
Well, I want to thank the Township, and we're going to try and give you a great parade. In the past, it's been kind of bad because of the weather. We're going to do our best. I thank you for everything, and we're going to do our best to give you a great parade. Come on out, come to the posts, and we'll have food and drinks, beverages for anybody that shows up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Commander. Thank you for coming out. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Chief's up next.
All right, next up on tonight's agenda is the Chief Donnelly is going to do a brief presentation on a red light program. Chief, it's all yours.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, Chief.
Everybody having a good day?
Chief.
All right.
We were.
I'm here to talk about everybody's favorite topic in Warminster Township, which is traffic. Since Mr. Schuster arrived and became my boss, he has established me with his several goals every year, and I try to, being a straight A personality, I try to accomplish every goal he gives me and then try to go achieve that. One of those is a reduction in the safety in the vehicular and pedestrian traffic in Warminster Township. There's several ways in my analysis that we can go about that. One is assets and personnel, another one's construction. But the one I'm here to talk to you tonight about is technology. Several years ago, probably around 2011, 2012, the state of Pennsylvania passed the regulations for red light cameras. First, they were for the city of the first class. As you can see, Philadelphia posted them up everywhere along Roosevelt Boulevard, the most dangerous highway out there. After that successful project took off, they opened it up to specific townships meeting specific requirements. One being you had to be a Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police accredited department, which we are. We have been, and we've been reaccredited at least 4 more times since being established in '07. And you had to have a population, or a Class 2 township had to have a population over 20,000 people, which we do. We manage that quite well. With that being said, a 5-year analysis of our major corridors along Street Road, and they had to be state highways. Couldn't put them on local or municipal roads. I'm not going to, everybody's not going to be surprised at these numbers, but in the last 5 years on total in the township, we've handled 5,870 accidents. Some of those are parking lots, some of those are fender benders, but unfortunately some of those were fatal accidents, 7 of which were fatal accidents in the last 5 years. Of those 5,000 accidents, 41% were on Street Road, 13% were on York Road, and 13% were on County Line Road. And if everybody read the intel, I believe it was last November, they were classified as the most dangerous roads in Bucks County, and we control 2 of them. They run right through the center of town and right on the edge of town, and we handle a majority of the calls on those roads overall going on. So our main focus was safety. How do we reduce and maintain safety along Street Road as best we possibly can? And with the technology that's out there, red light cameras have come on board and come available. Right now, the only township in the area that's using them is Abington Township. They started with 3 intersections. They currently have 10 cameras. They expanded theirs, and they're seeing a tremendous amount of success overall in our cameras. They're seeing a reduction in overall accidents of 28% in the last 2 years. They're seeing, and the more important ones, they're seeing a 33% reduction in accidents or crashes involving injury. They're also seeing a reduction in transports to hospitals by 25%, which is pretty remarkable when they consider they have significantly more space and or population than we have coming through with 611, Susquehanna Road, and things, roads of that structure. I feel it's a good use of technology overall, considering what we're doing now. We're manning those traffic posts now. Every uniform patrol officer on day work and night work has to do an hour in the morning, an hour in the hour in the first half, hour in the second half of their shift. The in-car camera has to be on. They have to monitor an intersection on Street Road, on County Line Road, or York Road, mainly red lights, and enforce the traffic laws on those. We're seeing a slight reduction, but we're not seeing anywhere close to the reductions that Abington's seeing and the safety they're providing their residents. Unfortunately, there is no cost, and there's probably people out there in TV land that think, oh, this is going to be a great revenue generator. It is not a revenue generator. That's the one thing the state built into this. Although the township's costs come first, any funds, it's a $100 fine for a red light violation. If it goes to, if it goes in arrears, it goes up to about $140 for collections. But the company that we contract with, they handle all that. There's no in-house collection of money. You're not mailing it to the township. It goes to that company. They take then all those funds, send them to the township. Township covers their costs first. Any overtime we would generate, any positions we would need to hire, anything like that to maintain these lights. That we don't maintain, we don't touch the lights, we don't touch the integrity or the thresholds or the calibration of the lights. The company does that. It doesn't tie into our hardware. It runs off radar and sensors for their systems that handle these lights. And they send us pretty much a check covering our cost every month on what we bill them. The secondary costs go to the company. Once the company makes their money back, anything above that goes to the state to support the red light program that they're trying to push out statewide, pretty much for any township that have these similar problems that we do. So that's where we're at. It's a pretty revenue neutral. Our costs get covered, but we don't benefit for it. It's all for the reduction of accidents and the safety of the township and the safety of the residents and visitors that come here. And it would help me establish one of my goals. So if there's any questions, I'm open for anything.
Did you say you'd be receiving a grant for this endeavor?
There was a grant when they first started. The research is showing that I don't think there was a grant last year, but it doesn't mean there wouldn't be a grant going forward on the establishment of it. We would have to partner with a company. Currently, there's 3 companies out there. We would have to vet all 3 companies. Abington has vetted theirs and has picked theirs based on certain criteria. I would recommend we follow their same criteria. But the state funds for it grants are few and far between for law enforcement anyway. We might have to work with our engineering partners and figure out how we're going to do this, but going forward, all the costs for Abington were up front by a grant, but we could work on that.
Thank you.
I mean, how much of the data that we have, because one thing that I've been hearing us talk about for I don't know how many years now, even before I was on the board, were the timing of all the lights along Street Road, specifically Street Road. I mean, do we know what kind of effect the timing of these traffic lights, if they were all tied into a singular system?
How they would impact the accidents
Right.
and the timing. I don't know if they may have a small impact. I mean, we'd probably have to talk to our engineering personnel to find out the timing on the lights overall and whether or not the timing of individual lights and how they move through town. But no matter how much timing you put on a light or how connected you make it with the future lights to get people through the town as fast and as safe as possible is not going to prevent the people that run the red lights, turn illegally on red, don't stop, run red light. I mean, all those mechanical things that people do in the operations of their vehicle, not paying attention, texting while they're driving, yelling at their kids while they're driving. I mean, every day-to-day thing that comes along is no timing in the world on a traffic light is going to prevent them from us having an accident. We have way too much traffic. I mean, we're going to hit a plateau where that's it. But in 2016, we had a whole-time high. We had 1,240 accidents in a year, which was
In
pretty high in Warminster.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a lot of accidents, and not many. And we didn't. I think we had a pretty light winter that year. So, now we've gotten it down. I think I dropped it 3% last year overall, and my goal is to drop it even lower this year. So, in a grand total of 2 years, it would drop lower than 5%, but it's still not low enough. It's not the numbers Abington's saying.
Is the appeal process the same?
The appeal process, it stays within the confines of the township. The township decides whether or not it's a civil process. So we would appoint a representative of the township. Abington uses an attorney who has volunteered his services. He charges a nominal fee to come in. There are several defenses. I'm not going to go in and educate the whole public on how to defend themselves against red light violations and kill half of Abington's enforcement. But there are avenues that the state has recognized that have to be in place for you to find them guilty. And then there's some they take into consideration what the person's doing. Like Abington has Abington Memorial Hospital there. There's a red light camera right there. So you'll get the people that come in and said, my mother was dying, I had to get there, and they take that into consideration. And we could have the same thresholds here. It's all based on what the board want to do and what thresholds you want to set up for that person. So
Is there also any, I guess, what's the setting for, what's violating a red light? Like is it
the
like,
timing and the thresholds on the light
Yeah, is there
are
a
probably
delay?
once you're past the white line, both tires past the white line, going into the intersection and the light's red. I mean,
On
some
red.
of them, what happens is the company takes the snapshots in the video, sends it to the police department. A police officer has to go through each individual what they consider a violation. Now, in Abington, they have a civilian that filters that even more and then sends it to the officers, and the officers go through it. And they go through it every morning. They have a full-time two-person highway unit that goes through it every morning, collects it, violation, no violation. The violations then go back to the company. Company sends out the citation. It either gets paid. They ask for a hearing, then it comes back. It gets scheduled for a hearing. They have a hearing once every other month, and they have maybe 3% of the people ask for hearings. And then they put the hearing on, and then it's determined one way or the other. If they refuse to pay, it goes to collections. The company handles the collections. They have a third-party collection agency that handles that, and after a certain time period, they send that off to the collection agency. It goes from there.
Circumventing that, not circumventing, but not going through our normal, district justice, that whole process, is that normal with all of these
Yeah,
different?
it's all set up by the state. They're all regulations set by the state.
Okay.
So essentially, this program is to change people's behavior, get them to not go through red lights. And I'm sure if we go through this program, the word will spread real fast in Warminster, so people who live in Warminster, in this area, won't go through red lights. But what I'm wondering is, we get a lot of through traffic in Warminster, especially Street Road. Is there anything that would indicate that this particular intersection or our intersections are red light camera equipped, so they have a...
Yeah, there's postage and signage. There's also, I believe, a 60-day window for forgiveness,
Okay.
so that people get accustomed to the lights going. We might send a warning out saying, your car was observed going through a red light traffic on this case. This is not a violation, but is a warning for future use. Please be careful, and go from there. But there are things we would have to talk to the company about
Yeah.
and getting those in place. But I believe the threshold is 60 days until it goes established.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect.
Anyone else have anything for the chief? I mean, do we need to take action on this tonight, or?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I asked the chief to give this presentation before he did any more work into this subject. Obviously, there'd have to be proposals and working with the companies out there. And before he did any of that heavy lifting, I thought it was appropriate to come here and take the temperature of the board as to whether or not you want to pursue this. So it's really up to the board to give direction on this. Anything you decide tonight would not be a final action, but we would appreciate some direction.
So people out in TV land, don't start emailing us tonight.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, before I would commit to this, I'd really like to talk to people in other townships where it's already been installed to see what,
City of Philadelphia and Abington are the closest two.
Right, Abington.
No one else has them
Right.
in the area.
Right.
And some of the reasons they're looking to change. So in their 2016 report that was published in 17, some of the recommendations that were made were to come off the accreditation aspect for police departments. It would open it up to more because there's only a few of us that are accredited.
Right.
So that aspect's out there. There's a lot of recommendations out there
Okay, I
that
understand.
PennDOT's, they're constantly revamping it. I mean, the program's probably only been established since 2011, 2012. So every 2 years, they write a report and publish it the following year and put it out. So I have I think the latest one that was published in 17. So the next one's due in 18 this year, or next year, 19. So, and it accumulates the last 2 years, and the townships that are eligible. Gives us a breakdown by county, which ones are eligible.
Right.
And there's a few of us that are eligible. Middletown, Bensalem,
So-
things like that.
Tell us how the process is implemented then. If the board was to say, hey, we'd like to hear more, what,
Well, if you'd like to hear more, we would do an evaluation on what intersections we were looking at. I have 2 intersections in mind that are smaller intersections that would be easier. I'm not going to take a big bite and wind up at Street in York. I mean, that's almost 16, 18 lights that are moving in all different directions to monitor. We'd have to look at those, see how much, get a traffic count and a traffic study and a traffic survey on those intersections and see how much that would impact.
And you would do that
Yeah, we would do that.
internally?
Yeah, and then we would have to permit with PennDOT to see if they're eligible and see if we can get permits for those lights at that location. Start vetting a third-party company in regards to handling this and putting our best practices forward on how we vet those companies, and then move forward there with the company.
Now, the low-level intersections, if you installed them there, when you move to the bigger ones like York and Street, would they remain?
Yeah. I wouldn't take them down. Well, now, and there's a lot of aspects to it. How much volume, how much traffic, how much personnel, because someone's got to look at these red light cameras and how we're going to vet them and how much of it is going to be generated as long as they cover our cost.
Right.
Now, I don't think Street Road would never not cover our cost, but that's a big aspect to it. Getting into the real money aspect of it
Right.
and what it's going to do. It's not going to be a money revenue, but it's going to be a revenue neutral system, but it's going to bring down and enlighten the safety of the township.
And it's going to free up a few of your officers
Oh,
to be
it'll free up.
patrol officers.
Well,
instead of-
I can start focusing on secondary and tertiary roads like Ivyland Road, Roberts Road,
Centennial.
Delmont Road, Centennial,
we get calls
Davisville,
about it.
Newtown. You know,
Right.
all the secondary roads that are. You know, I'm sorry if you live there, but Street roads 41% of my problem.
Right,
So,
right.
so that's where we're at. But I mean, it's just diving that much more deeper into it and coming back and seeing if, all right, this is where we're at.
Right.
You know, if I do this, I think when Abington did it, it was a 2-year process.
Yes, there's just, I only speak for myself and the rest of the board can weigh in. Myself, I would like to speak to other communities, particularly Abington where it's been installed. And number two, I'd like for some time for the public to vet
right.
this.
Okay.
Because I don't want the public to think, hey, we're
I
just.
plan on being
because
here,
people
so
hear
I'm
red
in no
light
rush.
cameras, they're on the phone, they'll be on the phone with us immediately. What are you doing to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I know we were kind of jokingly talking about emails, but I mean, I would love to receive emails on it. I mean, I know that sometimes there can be, a loud few, but I mean, I really do want to hear from
In the
everybody.
meantime, though, I'm not opposed to you moving forward with gathering some more information on this. I mean, I don't know about the rest of the board. We don't have to take action, but is there a consensus?
Yes.
I agree. I mean, especially, he's saying that it reduced the fatalities and the number of accidents, and it's something to look into, something for us to consider. So I think, get whatever information you have, Chief, and keep sharing with us, and maybe we can meet with, like you said, Mark, maybe somebody from Abington
I
Township.
think we know a few people over there.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Anything
you.
else? All right.
Just to sum it up, just so we're clear, the chief will go ahead and we'll reach out to Abington and maybe anyone else that can provide insight. Make sure you get all the information you need. Also begin the studies that, of those intersections that the chief wants to target, but we would not proceed to the permitting request with PennDOT just
Without
yet.
coming back to the
Without
board.
coming back to
Yeah,
the board.
I mean, I would look at Street Road first, and we have 14 red light intersections on Street Road. I'm looking at maybe 2 out of those that jump right at me, where we've had fatals in the last 5 years, that I would basically look at that are simple.
To me, that this isn't a money thing, and as a public official, public safety is our number one job as elected officials, so. From that standpoint, I'm fine with moving forward.
Okay, great. I'll
With
get on it.
information
My lieutenants will appreciate it. So, all right, thank you. Have a good night.
Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, next up is Land Use Matters, Public Hearings and Ordinances. Item A is 2018-2, 433 Centennial School District Waiver of Land Development Approval. Mr. Bartle?
Yes, thank you. The board has before it this evening a resolution, number 18-01. This is a conditional waiver of land development approval. The applicant is the Centennial School District for property at 433 Centennial Road. Essentially, what the district proposes is the removal of 48,200 square feet of district administration building and reconfigure the building's associated driveways and parking areas to construct a new multi-purpose grass field with a recreational trail and 80 space parking lot on the property. In order to do the land development, rather than go through the formal land development process, the school district has requested that we waive that formal process. And in light of it being an appropriate matter in which that can be done, and our experts in the township have so advised, the board grants this, will grant this conditional waiver so long as the conditions are complied with by the school district. And those conditions are complying with the attached township review letters, and there are 3 mentioned, one by Boucher and James, the township's landscape architect, one by the township zoning office review letter, and one by Gilmore and Associates, the township engineer. There's also a requirement of a security agreement posting financial security with the township and a cash escrow for administrative engineering and legal fees, stormwater management agreement, and tree covenant. Essentially, what the township is doing is waiving the formal process while still making sure that the township is guaranteed all of the necessary reviews and the like, so that the project is done in conformance with your ordinances.
Is there someone from the district here tonight to represent the district? See, my friend Tom Gold's in the house. Always good to have you here, Tom.
Good evening. I'm Robert Whartonby. I'm the Director of Facilities for the school district. Basically, you hit it right on the head. We're taking an old building that's no longer, it's what we would call functionally obsolete. So we're going to drop that building now that we're over at Swan Way. And we thought it would be a great time to put another athletic field out there as we expand our athletic program to include lacrosse. This field will be sized for soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey. So it's a multi-purpose field. It's a great use for the property. It is not another development. And
Thank you.
typically, I've been on this side of the fence as well as your side of the fence, and I'm a landscape architect by profession. And this is the first time I can honestly say that I'm not erecting a building that I'm actually reverting back to green. So it's actually pretty incredible to go reverse. So this is anti-development.
Yes, and
So that's what we're looking for.
And that's still zoned in governmental, or that's
Yep.
Governmental.
and that'll remain zoned.
Yeah, the zoning's not changing.
Wow.
Correct.
What other questions do I have for you? I really don't have many. It's pretty, like, hang on until the music stops, like musical chairs. Okay. So, I mean, does the board, I think we might as well go have a little discussion now before we take action. I mean, I'm pleased to see what you're doing here. Instead of
you.
trying to come in here and sell it and put more houses, that you're
I mean, the only thing I'll say is that, yeah, you hit the nail on the head on that, is that, I mean, I'm very happy that this is the direction that you're going with it. And I also think that, I mean, we all, the school board directors, the board of supervisors, I mean, we all pretty much work for the same taxpayers. So we should look for opportunities to work together and save some money for the taxpayers, and I think this is a great idea.
I love it. I love the idea of being a coach for 27 years in the township, that you're going to have a multi-purpose field that's been discussed in other areas of the township, but I think it's a great idea, and 'cause we have lots of building on that street right now, so this is great.
Are you going to put any type of monument there that it was once the Johnsville School? Because I've seen aerial pictures of that, where that is the only building for miles around.
We do. The short answer is we could do anything, yes.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool if you
notice,
did.
we're leaving the pylons that did have the Johnsville Elementary School. That wood pylon, the wood structure itself, the sign itself became distressed. We got rid of it.
Right.
So what we're looking to do is kind of memorialize it. Don't know what it's going to say on it right now.
Yeah, can you mention that Mrs. Loftus was once
Yeah,
there?
I'm looking at Tara. And Bobby's office was there.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking to do something. We're going to maintain the pylons for the former sign, as well as I want to keep the flagpole.
And I think our history association would be glad to hear
And
that,
it's
because there's a
nice.
little bit of history
Yeah,
there,
it's
so
pretty
that would
cool.
be great.
We have a small, about 12-page photo booklet of the old Johnsville, and you're absolutely right. It shows it from an aerial view, and Street Road is nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing, right, Tom? It was incredible. It's like, wow.
Yeah, so some type of recognition of what's once stood there,
Absolutely.
that would be terrific.
could be easy.
That would be great. That would be the only thing that I'd ask of you, so.
Sure.
Perfect. And speaking of the school board, I think you started to mention tonight we have Tara Pellegrino, school board director, with us. Tara, thank you for coming tonight. Not to go too far though, but when you demolish a building, how long would it be around for? Would you take it away the same day, the same week, or I'm just?
What's your schedule?
From a demolition perspective, there's things that need to be done. Obviously, it's
Okay.
an older building. Older buildings come with some type of environmental issues, namely asbestos. So the asbestos removal would have to take place first. That's a very regulated activity.
Okay.
Then you would drop the principal building. Then you would break up the floor, the slab, and then regrade the earth, bring some good topsoil in, so if there's any material left from the demolition, doesn't start poking through. And then throw some seed down, wait about 2 growing seasons, and then have an athletic field. So it's not a one-day process. It would take a couple days. In terms of logistically, if that's the direction you're going, the property would be fenced off, so it wouldn't become an attractive nuisance so somebody can enter the site. The demolition contractor would do his work inside, or her work inside that penned-in area, if you will, and then remove the fencing when done. And then, again, in about 18 months, you would have an established lawn, and then you could play on it.
And I apologize if you said this already, but when this possibly starts?
We are looking to start, we're going to have to go through the public bidding process.
Okay.
So that takes about a month.
Okay.
And then the board obviously would award to whomever the selected contractor would be. And then I'm looking forward possibly to July would be about the time frame, if not August. And, it's about a 6-week process to demo a building, and then another couple of weeks to get the grading done and everything. The whole thing from getting it mobilized to getting a grade on the property to accommodate a playfield is probably 3 months, if I'm not remiss, something like that.
Are you out for bid now?
No,
No, you haven't
we're
gone
not
out
going to go
yet?
out to bid until we get.
So you get
our
the waiver of
approval.
land.
Exactly.
Understood.
Exactly.
Does the board have anything else to add?
Thank you.
Thank you. Give the public an opportunity to comment when we take action.
Sure,
So,
absolutely.
I'm going to ask Mr. Bartle to craft a motion.
Oh, did you have
Well,
something?
Mr. Chairman, there's an opportunity, I know our office was working on a couple concerns you had on the parking layout, curbing, no curbing. This is your chance to, if you want to discuss any of those items, we're assuming everything else is a will comply and all the letters. If you are, and if there's a minor thing, we can work that offline and figure it out. But anything big, this is the time. If not, we're granting you a waiver subject to those conditions.
And the
So-
staff recommends the waiver.
Yes, yes. In fact, I think Mr. Monroe mentioned it, working together, taxpayer dollars on both sides. Hopefully it went well for you. We expedited everything at staff level. Our letters may be a little long just because we had one shot, try to get everything in there. But if it's not in the letters, planner letter, our letter, or L&I, it's waived. We tried to keep conscious of school district and the taxpayer dollars being spent. So if we're okay, then we can move on from that. And anything minor will work out between our offices then.
Yeah, I'm Bob Kurt from Barry Ice and Associates, the engineer for the district. We got 3 review letters. We went over everything. We had no issues with any of the items. I spoke with Mr. Kennard's office and got an understanding for what he was looking for. It is a grass field, not artificial turf. There are no lights. There are no structures.
So everything's a will comply for you as well. So-
I think the key also is no lighting's proposed now or in the future, so
Nope.
that's been asked.
And that backs right up to a
I've gotta
neighborhood.
ask that a few
backs right up
times
to a
already.
neighborhood there.
Yes.
Yeah,
The power
Understandable.
goes away with the building. There are no lights.
Right. Okay.
That's all.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, I'm going to ask Mr. Bartle to craft a motion for the board.
Yes, actually, you have a resolution, and so the only motion would be to approve Resolution Number 18-01 regarding the conditional waiver of land development approval for Centennial School District as presented.
Okay.
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
McPhillips, a second. Ms. Frescatore, is there any comment from the board any further? Any comment from the public before the board takes action? Yes. I know, mine says O2 as well.
Just to clarify, and I think there might be a little typo on there, the waiver of land development is 2018-02, and the resolution is 2018-13.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further comment from the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Address the public?
Aye.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And the chair votes aye as well. Motion carries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tom, good to see you again. Okay. Next up is item B, consider adoption of ordinance 743, rental housing ordinance. Mr. Bartle, I know we've been over this again, but I'll ask you for just a quick view before the board takes action.
Certainly, the board has before it the ordinance, which has been much discussed. And essentially, the purpose of the ordinance is included in the third whereas provision of the ordinance itself that reads, whereas the board desires to repeal certain portions of the township's code relating to licensing of multiple dwellings, dwelling units, rooming houses, rooming units, motels, hotels, apartments, multifamily dwellings, condominiums, duplexes, and other type units in favor of the adoption of a comprehensive set of regulations to govern the licensing, inspection, and maintenance of residential rental properties in the township. And that is effectively what you're doing. There are multiple sections that are set out, removing some of the prior ordinance provisions with regard to that, and installing the new ones with regard to that as well. So we're essentially moving from all of those things being described to a regulation to govern the licensing, inspection, and maintenance of residential rental properties in the township. And I believe this is the one that was the ordinance that was spoken of previously by some of the members of the audience that came, and this is a much more to their liking than apparently what was first reviewed. This contains provisions for property owners' duties. It contains a provision for the designation of a resident agent. It contains a provision for disclosure of the resident agent or property owner will disclose to the tenant in writing on or before the commencement of the tenancy the name, address, and telephone number of the resident agent. Talks about maintenance of the premises, licensing and registration, inspections, and the like. So all of that is provided in this ordinance and has been much discussed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bartle. I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt ordinance 743, rental housing ordinance. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Monroe, is there a second? Mr. McPhillips, any further discussion from the board? We've discussed this to a great length. Is there any from the public?
A lot better than the last one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion carries. We have to take one more action on this as well, which is consider the approval of Resolution 2018-14, which is the housing inspection checklist. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Crowley, is there a second?
Second?
Ms. Frescatore, any further discussion from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thanks a lot to the staff. I know the staff put a lot of time into that, so came out really well. Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. I know you spent hours on it. Okay, next up is public comment. You comment from the public.
Yes.
Whoever wants to come first. There's a few. Whoever wants to come first, have at it.
Hi, Darlene Baker, 1537 Mulberry Circle. I'm here representing Friends of Warminster Parks. I will not try to duplicate some of the things that you talked about, but there's a couple of events coming up that I want everybody to get their phone out, click on your calendar, and you can add these events. And the Sixers were winning by a lot, but now it's 35-33, just so you know. Oh, you didn't want to know? Okay. Okay. This Saturday, come join us at Warminster Community Park. We have a big yard sale going on, a community yard sale. So any bargain hunters, any DIYers that want craft things to do, and college students looking for bargains for your apartments, come out and join, and you can find some bargains out there on the community yard sale. It starts at 8 o'clock, and any shoppers, you come in from the Bristol and Hatboro Road side. Nobody gets in early. Just saying. But 8 o'clock, come on and join us and find some bargains out there. We have those twice a year right now, so good to clean out your attics for next time. Kathy did talk about the Rubber Ducky Regatta. It's at Kemper Park on Sunday, May 20th at 1 p.m. There's treats there. If you've never been there, it's a really fun event for the kids, the grandkids, nieces, nephews. You might want to borrow kids that day just to see 800 ducks float down the little Neshaminy Creek down there. And it's a really fun event, so come on out for that event. She did mention Warminster Day. It's our 15-year anniversary of Warminster Community Park. It's a beautiful park. We're making upgrades all the time to that park. So come join us on June 9th, Saturday, June 9th. Put it in your calendars, and it's from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to have food trucks there. It'll be really fun. There's a lot of activities planned for the kids. We really do need sponsors, so guys,
I'm
get
working
your
on it.
sponsors.
I'm working
We need
on it.
sponsors. So any businesses, we'd love some sponsors, and we desperately need volunteers. So if you can call the Parks and Rec office, we'd love volunteers for any part of the day. We'll take volunteers. So come join us for that. And the last event I want to talk about is a little far in the future, but save the date. It is our annual fundraising for Friends of Warminster Park. It's a casino night. It'll be at Ann's Choice on October 20th at 7 p.m. All proceeds from that event are going to go to our splash park. That is part of that the grant. Even though the splash park itself is being made as part of the grant, we need lots of the amenities around the splash park, such as the sunshades, benches, landscaping, and trash cans. Anybody that wants to know more about the splash park, it is on the Friends of WarminsterParks.org website. There's a little, right on the front page, it shows pictures of what the rendering of the splash park will look like for the kids. It'll be really nice when it's in there. So all the proceeds from that fundraiser will go for the amenities for the splash park. If you want to volunteer for Friends of Warminster Parks, you can send us an email at info@friendsofwarminsterparks.org, and we're always looking for volunteers.
And that casino night's a good time. I've been there the last few times.
It's
It's a lot
fun.
of
You don't
fun.
even have to.
You don't have to know how to
play
gamble.
games.
They teach you everything you need to know, and it's fun.
And
Really.
this year, we're going to have, we're going to upgrade some of the auction items, so we're going to have a lot of auction items, and we'll be talking about those once those are finalized. But it'll be really fun for the park, and we are trying to raise money, and it's all dedicated to the parks.
All right, great. Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment, please, sir? Tell us who you are.
Yes. Hi, my name is Richard Levemeyer. I just moved to Warminster in December 1st. I moved into the Glen at the Bucks. When we moved in, they had trash containers. This has been coming on. I have 3 police reports that I had filed on 3 different occasions. I spoke to a Gary Smith in codes and violations and so forth. With the first violation was at the Glen at the Bucks. They were having an outside company come in and remove the trash. When we moved in, there was trash containers, and I said, what's that concrete slab that's there? And Terry, the manager at the Bucks, she didn't tell me what it was. So they put a huge 30-foot trash compactor right outside my bedroom window, as close as you are to me.
Lovely.
Yes. So now, and Terry, she's the manager there. I'm sure she knows what the ordinance is in the township. Well, I'm a light sleeper. I got to get up early, but they were removing trash till 2 in the morning. So I called them, and when the trash compactor got full, where did they put the trash?
Sure.
They filled up 2 more parking spots full of trash. Now, I came in and spoke to Amanda about this, and this situation it's taken on its own animal of itself, because at this point, this report here was filed on, this one here was 12/27, okay? Then on February 9th, the trash company that comes out to pick up the containers, they picked the container up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, waking everybody up in the development. It got to a point where I spoke to a Sergeant McKean, and he took the direction of this. He spoke to Terry, and he also spoke to Waste Management and told them from this point on, if they come out again, there will be violations handed out at this point. So I kept thinking, all right, well, maybe it's going to get better. So they have 390 units in there. And what they want to do is they don't have a permit for bulk trash. I'm talking mattresses, I'm talking your furniture, whatever people don't want when they throw it out or they move out. So they took all the trash containers out of there, and they have the stalls still where the trash containers were. It would be a lot easier if they just kept the stalls and had Waste Management have 1 through 12 stalls, and the owner that's moving out call the office and say, I have X, Y, and Z at this stall. Please pick it up. Or it'd be picked up, and they pick up on whatever day. No, what these people want to do, because they have the trash compactor in one location, they want to put all the other household items and everything else in bulk trash down at the trash compactor. Now, where this becomes a liability situation, on 329, there was a lot of items outside. There's a little boy, he was outside, he put the stool in front of the trash compactor. They left, management left the keys in the trash compactor. They, I scared the kid away. But I thought at one point that that management would come back for the keys. They never came back for the keys. And I had told Gary Smith about this with what's going on. He says, it sounds like it's gotten worse over there. And it has. So then at this point, another report was filed, and I said, someone's going to get hurt. I mean, there's no reason that bulk trash, I didn't know that I was moving into a junkyard. And not only did they allow this, they also allowed for probably 10 yards of sand dumped there. So when every storm that we got this year, they're out there in a little bobcat filling the trucks to all hours of the morning. Wow. And now they've cleaned it up. After I spoke to Gary, they cleaned all around and everything else. But now what they want to do is they want to put hedges up. Well, they want to take almost 6 parking spots away. When I moved in, I saw there was plenty of parking. They're going to take that many spots away. There's not room for me to have any guests or anything else.
Where are we with this?
Well, I know that
This is the first the board's hearing of this.
No, I know, I understand.
well, there's been enforcement action. I believe there's also a referral to the health department.
I have photos. I have
The
tons of
ongoing
photos.
trash. As far as the plan to put in bushes, you said,
Yes.
we could look at the approved land development plan.
We're
and-
already working with them.
Okay.
Gary and I and Donna Wright from the health department met with Terry last week to go over everything that has been going on. The dumpsters are not coming back. So what is going on at the Glen at Buck since Christmas is that they pulled out the dumpsters and started offering the residents valet trash, in which the residents have trash cans provided by the management company, and then you put your trash out every day, and it's picked up Sunday to Thursday by a company that just drives around and picks it up and takes it to the trash compactor. So the dumpsters are gone, which is why a lot of the trash has still been left at where the old dumpsters used to be. So they're working on that. They just hired a new valet company that's starting April 30th. There'll be another memo going out to the residents explaining the trash procedures and what to do with your bulk items. The 6 parking spots where all the salt and everything is at will be marked off to be used for the bulk items and cleaned up and hedged for trash pickup.
It should not be there.
But I don't know that we
No.
have any jurisdiction over this.
No.
No, but they've asked for us to help just kind of brainstorm, especially from the trash standpoint, from the trash ordinance and from health and safety, which is how Gary and I and Donna from the health department has gotten involved to make sure that the trash cans are being used, the trash compactor area is kept clean, and we're not ending up in an animal issue, breaking into trash and things like that.
It's
So we
always-
are working with the Glen Bucks to try to provide solutions that work for the residents. as
Has
well.
there been any enforcement to this state?
We have not, there is nothing we can enforce necessarily. They have the permits for the trash compactor. We've been out, we've talked to them multiple times as far as figuring out what they're doing with the valet service, how they're picking up trash. A lot of the trash that's left around, there's not lids on some of the trash cans that the residents were given because they're not being put on. So yes, there is trash issues throughout the complex, and they're working hard. They got a new company that came in, they got a new maintenance person that came in to take over. So they are trying to fix their issues that they cause. They're trying to communicate better with the residents as well. And so yesterday I was sent their latest email to proofread and send back to them just to make sure that it helps clarify what their their trash procedures are with the valet service.
The problem is that she just said that they're going to put bulk trash behind these hedges that they want to put up. When I signed the lease, none of this was there. Now now I have a right to terminate the lease. I have to put money in. I spoke to an attorney. He told me I could put money into an escrow account showing good faith. At the same time, my credit gets hit, and my girlfriend here, her credit gets hit. We don't want to handle it that way. What we want to do is we want the township to step in and say, not give them the right to put the bulk trash there, behind there. They're opening.
Stop them from doing that?
No.
That's my question. I don't know if, can we?
Well,
Legally, can we?
so why don't, Frank, do you want to weigh in on that a little bit?
Well, I assume they have some sort of a valid land development plan that exists, and it'll be on there that they have to maintain their trash in some way that's generally handled in that fashion. I don't know where it's located, I don't know where it's approved for, but generally speaking, unless there is some ordinance provision that they would violate by moving it to a different location, you can essentially plan your property the way that you want to have it planned, so long as you don't violate the ordinances of the township. And so if you want to move the swing sets from where they're located to a new location, or the trash dumpster to a new location and the like, you can do that. I'm not sure exactly whether there's any setbacks or setbacks from buildings and the like that are impacted here or not. This is the first I'm hearing about it too, and I've never seen a plan, never seen the property. But from what I'm hearing, I don't hear anything just off the top of my head that indicates that they would be in violation necessarily of any of your
Well,
provisions.
trash piling up, that's a county health issue,
Oh,
correct?
that's a different story, yeah. I'm just talking about the location of the trash.
The
yes.
other problem is, we're talking toilets, we're talking refrigerators, washers and dryers, hot water heaters. This is like a dump. And I can't believe that when I spoke to Gary, I said, you gave them a permit for this trash? He goes, only for the trash compactor and the pad that it goes on. Now, what they want to do, what this company wants to do, is they want to make it the one location for all, for everything. That's fine, but it shouldn't be that close to in proximity if someone's living there. And it not only hurts me, all the other residents, none of the residents like it. I moved in and I thought, well, maybe I'll get a petition, get people to sign it. I don't know, whether they like it or not, but I've heard numerous people complaining about it. The other problem is that management has passed out a memo that the residents can go down there and dump their trash, okay, and put it in the trash compactor. They're not putting it in the trash compactor because they don't want to touch it. And then what happens is they're putting the trash on the ground. And you're going to have, we've already had rodents
The
where,
management company has also spoken with their attorney, and they have gotten permission from their attorney to start issuing fines for violations as well. That's not
To residents.
to residents who don't put their trash in the trash compactor, or who don't put their trash in trash cans when it's waiting to be picked up Sunday to Thursday, or who leave their trash outside on Friday and Saturdays. So they are working to try to have an enforcement mechanism themselves as too.
I was standing with maintenance, the guy right next door to me, right next to me, as we were at the trash compactor. They have one dumpster still, that's supposed to be for recyclables. They don't recycle nothing in there. Everything goes in that trash compactor. I have photos in my phone that indicates and shows all this.
I don't think we're going to be able to resolve anything at this point. But what I'd like to do, sir, is if you'd like, I know Amanda and the staff
Been there 5
have
months.
done a lot of work on this. I'd be happy to sit down with you and Amanda and everyone else and go through things. Just you'll have to understand that there are some things we have jurisdiction over, and we can go ahead and issue violation notices. There are also some things that we don't. So we'll have to go ahead and take a look at the approved land development plan and see if there's any language in there that helps us out. But we'll help out where we can. There's some things we're not going to be able to address.
That's what when I spoke to the sergeant, because some of the cops would come out and they would say, well, this is private property. I said, I pay taxes, okay, because I live there. I have a portion of my money taken out of my paycheck, and it's for police, fire, and rescue. So therefore, if this place was on an island all on its own, they could make their own rules, because they wouldn't need any of the other police and fire and anything like that. But they do. So there's ordinance in the township that they have to file.
Correct.
And it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Correct.
And they weren't even, that wasn't being enforced either,
Well,
until I got a police report filed.
yes, and the police did what they did, and has it been corrected?
That has, but you have a little kid, they left the keys in the trash compactor, and a little kid climbed up on a stool,
And
so.
we could look at that. I don't know if there's an ordinance that specifically addresses that. And the police do everything they can, but they can only enforce the ordinances and laws that are on the book. But again, let's sit down, let's talk about
All right.
this and see if we can help out in certain ways.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Mrs. Loftus?
Thank you. One of the questions I've been getting is why did I move? Well, if you paid attention to tonight's meeting, you know why. There's not going to be a building there. Somebody told me I should put up a tent. I said, no, thank you.
I miss having you up the street.
I do too.
If you look at your tax bill, on the front, very clearly in red, it states, note, new office location. In the inside of the bill, in 2 spots, in red, it gives the new address. Now, I know it's difficult to find, so I will tell you, you should be on Jacksonville Road going towards Bristol. Once you turn on Jacksonville from a street road, the second traffic light, make a left. Follow the signs for the forensic building, which in case you don't know is the morgue, to the stop sign. Once you get to the stop sign, look to the left, and you'll see Centennial School District Tax Office. Pull in, and I'm there.
Right up the street from Chick-fil-A and right up the street across from Costco.
Right. Across the street from Costco.
Right.
Now, also, taxes are due by April 30th. Normally, I am not open on Mondays because it's my day to go to the courthouse. But if they look at the bill and read it, it states I will be open that day from 9 in the morning to 6:30 at night. The Friday before that, it states I'll be open from 9 in the morning to 6:30 at night. And that Saturday in between there, I will be open from 9 to 12. This is the tax bill that if you are a resident and the township picks up your trash and you're a senior citizen, if you show me your driver's license as proof of age and residency, you get to take $55 off this bill. That does not work for condos or the Villas of Five Ponds, Centennial Station. Anyone that does not pay their trash through me cannot deduct $55.
Not past go.
Not yet. So as of today, we've collected 70% of the taxes.
Oh, great.
If we follow, like all over the years, that means in the next week, I will have 20% come in. 20% is 2,000 people. So if you pay at the last minute, expect to stand in line.
Does that mean don't call you this week?
No.
Me, I mean.
Yeah, you. All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Hey,
Bob.
thank you, Mrs. Loftus. Thanks for doing a great job, too. Bobby's the best tax collector around. Gets the money in right quick, and we need it. Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Sure, Kenny. Up, Jerry. Jerry, come on. Ladies first.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Jerry Shadrew, 462 Gibson Avenue. I'm here tonight on behalf of Friends of the Warminster Library. Those who know about our organization will know that we're a group of volunteers who pretty much do whatever we can to make our library a better place. It's pretty awesome now, so our job's hard, but we try hard. One of the things that we have been doing as a fundraiser this year, actually for the past 2 years, has been a speakers series. This year we had an actor portraying FDR stop in for a fireside chat. We had Amelia Earhart fly by to chat out with us. And we're going to be offering the last of our series, in our series. Talk will be on Saturday, May the 19th from 2 to 3 at the library. And I'm really excited about this one because I'm sure everybody's aware of Hamilton, the musical, and the buzz that's going on with that. Philadelphia's National Convention Center is opening an exhibit on Hamilton as well. And I believe the Kimmel Center in their 2018-19 series is going to have Hamilton, the play, in Philadelphia. But Philly and New York have nothing on Warminster.
All right.
Yeah. The Friends have invited Mr. Rand Cholet, who is the president of the Alexander Hamilton Awareness Society, to the library, and he's going to be our presenter and doing a talk on Hamilton, the man versus the musical. I've seen Mr. Cholet. He gave a presentation at the Washington Crossings Park, and he's really, really entertaining. He doesn't dress up as some of the other actors had taken on the persona of the person they were portraying, but Rand does not. He just is like a Hamilton expert. He knows everything about him historically. He's been he has relationships with Ron Chonet, who is the author of the biography, which the play is based on. He's also been in circles with Lin-Manuel Miranda, the author who wrote the play and scored it. So his talk is, it's history, it's part anecdotal. At the time that I've seen him, he had some pictures. It's very entertaining, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I can guarantee you that. So it is Saturday, May 19th, 2 to 3 at the library, $10 a ticket. That includes the presentation and some light refreshments. And like I said, I can tell you it's going to be a good time. It's entertaining, it's informative, and I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if some songs don't break out either. Can't guarantee that they will, but so don't miss your shot to be in the room where it happens. They'll play on the songs there. And you can stop by and pick up your tickets at the library.
Is that all you have for us, Sharon?
What's that?
Is that all you have for us?
That's all I have.
Thank you. That's terrific. Thank you. Mr. Hayes, I think you were next.
Well, good evening, everyone. Ken Hayes, 850 Lingo Drive.
We'd have to.
Great testament to this township. There's so many things to do. And I want to add to that, the Environmental Advisory Council is still looking for some volunteers for this Sunday, April 22nd, to help us with the community garden cleanup. It's getting started, so we'll basically be doing some weeding and more to follow on that. One thing that we're very happy to bring to light here is we've started an environmental education series as well at the EAC, and I'm proud to present or to announce that the first two presentations of the series are this Monday, April 23rd, right here at our meeting. We have a Gardening 101 presented by Bucks County Food Shed Alliance, which I know a lot of people garden, everybody thinks they're great gardeners. This will actually, you're going to learn something. So we welcome everybody to come out. And as we know, there's a serious issue with pollinators, honeybees and butterflies and things of the like. Amy Sanchez Hamilton from the EAC will be presenting a presentation on pollinator plantings, things that you can do at your house plantings that will attract butterflies and pollinating insects and birds. So we're very happy that we started this environmental series, and we welcome everybody to show up. That would be Monday, April 23rd, 7 o'clock, right here. Thank
Great,
you.
sounds like the AC is busy. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, is there any other public comment? Before we move on to our next item, I want to ask Jaden Walsh, our Boy Scout, to come on up and tell us who you are. Jaden, tell us what you think of the meeting so far, too. And you're here to study government. Go ahead over to the microphone so we can hear you, pal. Tell us who you are. Where do you go to school at?
Hello, my name is Jaden Walsh. I'm a part of Troop 97 of the Bernathen Boy Scouts. I'm here tonight to, I came to learn about some information about what goes on in the community. And I'm doing this for a merit badge to go towards becoming an Eagle Scout in the future. I go to Klinger Middle School, Centennial District. I'm 12 years old, and
Great.
No, that's awesome, Jaden.
A lot of people, yeah.
Jaden, keep us posted on how you're doing toward that Eagle Scout, that Eagle badge. We'd be glad to hear how you're making out, and anything else we can do if you want to come in and meet with the staff sometime or whatever. We're always available to you, so let us know.
Yeah, and that microphone terrifies people, so being that you're only 12, you did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, terrific.
Yes.
Well done, Ron. We'll try to keep you awake for the rest of the meeting. So next up is the consent agenda. There wasn't any other public comment, was there, before we move on? Just making sure. Okay, consent agenda, Mr. Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight's consent agenda is as follows. Item A is approval of the minutes of your meeting for March 15th, 2018. Item B is approval of proclamations for 5 individuals for the Chamber of Commerce Scholarship. Those will be presented at the luncheon for the Chamber of Commerce. Item C is another proclamation recognizing a firefighter for his outstanding service over the years. That'll be presented at the banquet for the Hartsville, sorry, is it Harts? Do we know if it's Hartsville? Hartsville
Their
Fire
95th
Company.
anniversary dinner, by the way.
95th?
In fact, I think Mr. McPhillips and Mr. Crowley are going. They'll give us a report at the next meeting.
Absolutely. Free food.
Item D is a approval of a document disposal resolution. Documents to dispose are mainly administration and golf course records. Item E is Resolution 2018-16, approval of closing York and Street for the Memorial Day Parade. Item F is Resolution 2018-17, fair districting support. This is in support of a fair districting commission. This would amend the Pennsylvania Constitution and call for a nonpartisan committee to do redistricting and take it out of the political process. Item G is a
Mr.
community.
Schuster, I'm sorry, just because there's some people in the audience here that specifically came for that, can we, after you're all done, can we read that to the public?
Absolutely.
We can pull item G for comment
Okay.
after he reads the entire consent agenda.
Okay.
Fair enough? Sure.
Item G is approval of a community assistance grant award to the Warminster Symphony Society for $2,000, as you have done in previous years. Item H is closure of 2 accounts for the golf course. This is as part of the transition over to Spirit Golf. We no longer need those bank accounts. And item I is a escrow release in the amount of $500 plus any accrued interest from the legal and engineering escrow account for 345 Calmia Street, as the 6-month maintenance period has expired.
Okay, I'm going to pull item F for separate action. Can we take action on the rest of the consent agenda? Is there a motion?
Motion?
Pardon me?
Is there a J?
Pardon me?
Is there a J? J?
Oh, I'm sorry, that was a last minute addition.
Yeah, I don't have J on mine either.
So,
Thank
I'm sorry.
you.
Pay attention
Thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize. Item J, late addition, CNG fueling, 400 Park Avenue, releasing the amount of $5,426.18 plus any accrued interest from the legal and engineering escrow account.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda other than item F, which we'll do on a separate
Motion.
action? Ms. Frescatore, second. Mr. McPhillips, any discussion from the board? Any from the public? Sure, Jack, come on up. What do you got?
Just elaborate a little bit on this fair district.
Can you, but yeah, we're going to do a separate action on that. We're going to take separate action on that. We pulled it from consent. Is there any other comment from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
The chair votes aye, and we're going to take a separate action to consider approval of Resolution 2018-17 for fair districting. Do you want to review that?
Sure.
We have
And
discussion?
in fact, let me just read the resolution. Whereas the citizens of the Township of Warminster and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania deserve a fair, fully transparent, impartial, and depoliticized process of the decennial drawing of state legislature and congressional districts of near equal population, and whereas legislative and congressional redistricting has at times resulted in gerrymandered districts that favor one political party over others, and whereas such gerrymandering of legislative and congressional districts has worked at times to the detriment of our representative democracy, and whereas the creation of a truly independent citizens redistricting commission devoid of political motivation or partisanship will ensure a fair, transparent, and accurate legislative and congressional redistricting process that represents political subdivisions, prohibit districts from being drawn to favor or discriminate against a political party or candidate, require the use of impartial and sound methodology when setting district boundaries, require public input, and fully comply with the constitutional requirement that, quote, no county, city, incorporated town, borough, township, or ward be divided unless absolutely necessary, and whereas legislation to amend the Pennsylvania Constitution to reform the decennial legislative and congressional redistricting process with the intent of using fairness and sound methodology in a nonpartisan fashion is required to ensure these reforms. Now therefore be it resolved that the Warminster Board of Supervisors does hereby support legislative efforts to amend the Pennsylvania Constitution to assign the decennial task of both legislative and congressional redistricting to an independent citizens redistricting commission. And be it further resolved, we call upon all those elected officials and party leaders in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania who represents the citizens of the Township of Warminster to publicly announce their support and commitment to work towards passage of such legislative efforts, and that a copy of this resolution be delivered to each of them.
Okay, this is not, this is on a state issue, not local. This is simply a resolution from the Board of Supervisors.
Correct. This is a this is a resolution that would show your intent or your desire for this to occur. It is not within the purview of local government. This is strictly in the purview of state government.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the resolution from the board?
Motion.
Mr. Monroe, second. Ms. Frescatore, discussion from the board? Any from the public?
Do it.
We have someone that wants to comment, so.
Hi, Pat Boyle, Grand Avenue. Fair Districts PA has been working, a nonpartisan group of people together, because both the Democrats and the Republicans, whoever's in control, has been making our legislative districts worse and worse and worse. And as we go to our legislators to get us grants and money for things, if you have a township or a community that is divided up into different legislative districts, that's not as important to a legislator as it is if the full district's in their jurisdiction. So it hurts our communities if we're separated, and that's how come the Constitution right now calls for it not to be separated. However, there's some loopholes in there, and both parties are definitely guilty of this. They are picking their constituents instead of us picking our legislators. And you guys know I'm a Democrat, and I'm telling you that Democrats are just as bad as anybody else. So we're asking for your support on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Any other comment? From the board? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you all for your passion on that. I know you've been working on that for some time, so. Good luck getting bipartisan. Good luck with that. I'm living proof, believe me. Okay, next
Moving
one.
on.
Financial report, Mr. Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have before you the transfers and bills list, so I would ask for a motion to approve the March transfers, the supplemental bill list dated March 29th, 2018, in the amount of $1,042,104.90, and the bill list dated April 19th, 2018, in the amount of $1,260,233.54.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Monroe, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Crowley, any discussion on the bill list?
No.
Any from the public? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. March financial statement, Mr. Schuster.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the tax collector had talked about earlier, real estate taxes are continuing to come in. Her numbers are actually more updated than ours. The report that you have in there is through the end of March. The number she was giving is relatively to date. The payroll taxes appear to be on target right now. Building permits are a little higher than target, so that's a little bit of good news. But everything else is trending as to be expected. We will get more clarity on where we're going over the next few months. The only thing I would note is that we were the beneficiary last year of an excellent February and March for the golf course because of some fantastic weather. It's the exact opposite this year. So the numbers for the golf course are behind where they were last year, and that is definitely weather-related. Some positive news, though, we've been making a lot of efforts with the food and beverage side. They have been having events over there. They've opened up the restaurant. We are already more than double where we were last year in terms of food.
Really?
Yeah, despite the bad weather. So some good news there, and I just encourage everyone, if you haven't been to the golf course, to please go play around. Even if you just want to go and have a nice meal, they're open in the evenings right now, but I believe starting May 1st, they'll be open at lunch daily. They're going to be putting in a nice beer garden outside with a nice view of the golf course. So I'd encourage everyone to check out the new restaurant there and enjoy yourselves.
Right. Question. I just have a question. When will we know? We're projecting a deficit this year. When will the trends really show if that's going to come to fruition? In your opinion, I mean, I know you can't say this is the date. But.
In my opinion, around June, July, we'll have definitely more clarity. I don't really expect any surprises when it comes to expenditures. That has always been plus or minus, within kind of where we're supposed to be. Hopefully, we'll trend under as we have in the past. The real factor has been the revenue. In the last few years, we have seen revenue that has, prior to 2017, revenue that has exceeded our estimates. In 2017, it was we closed it. Looks like we're closing with approximately $200,000 deficit. So it really has to do with the building permits. They are trending up a little bit, but I think around that time we'll have a much better feel.
We'll get a little more detailed financial report as we get into July, August, September, before we start building next year's budget. We'll know.
Absolutely.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything on the financial statement?
I do not.
Okay. Seeing none, we're going to move on to unfinished business. Consider appointment of a PSATS delegate. I was the appointed delegate this year, but I have a conflict and I can't go to the conference. So one of my fellow supervisors is going to have to do me a solid,
And
step
my
up and be the
turn?
voting member.
I already had my turn.
I think I did it last year.
It sounds like Mr. McPhillips wants this. I nominate Dan McPhillips.
Fine.
Okay, all in favor? I'm not even going to ask for comment from the public. All in favor? Chair votes aye. Mr. McPhillips, congratulations.
Thank
Let
you,
us know how it goes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to move on to new business. Item A is appointments to the newly formed Budget Committee. Do you mind giving us a little preview of that, Mr. Schuster?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. At the last meeting, you did form the Budget Committee. We have had a number of applicants. All the information has been transmitted to you. The board will consist of 5 members, and they are available for your appointment this evening.
Okay. Is there a motion for a nominee for a Budget Committee?
Mr. Chair, can I I mean, I do have 5 names that, in my preference, can I number or name them out, and if anyone has any disagreement?
For sake of
Either
time,
way.
I'm fine with that.
Would everybody be okay with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The 5 names that I have are Mr. Michael Ferris, Mr. Ken Hayes, Miss Nora Finello, Mr. Paul Luff, and Mr. Bob Welsh.
Is there, that's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Frescatore, any discussion from the board?
We had a lot of interest in this committee, which is terrific, and there's a lot of people who are willing and qualified to sit there, and unfortunately, we can't choose everyone. I would encourage those who may not get chosen for it, if you're watching, if you're here, the meetings are public. Attend the meetings. You may not sit with the committee, but you're going to have a say in this. At the Economic Development Committee, we don't sit up here. We sit down there. The public sits with us. It's a discussion among everyone. So I want to thank everybody who put in for it. It's not an easy task. And I'd love for those, even if those aren't chosen to be an official committee member, that they consider attending the meetings and participating as a member of the public.
I agree. I know on all the committees that I'm involved with, the public is every bit as part of the committee as the committee itself. I know when we have the facilities committee, that people that show up from the public are joined in, are helpful in the discussion. So, and I wanted to also mention that we had 11 applicants, by the way,
Yeah.
which is terrific, so it wasn't an easy decision to whittle this down. It really wasn't, so.
I'd like to thank all the people that applied, because the fact that you want to serve your community, to me, that is the utmost thing you can do is to participate in your community. I want to thank all of you that are on boards and are serving. Thank you.
And I would, just to note too, I mean, that there's no small task. I should say, this is no small task that we're going to be asking these members of this budget board. I mean, the whole reason why I recommended creating this board is because, I mean, if we don't do anything, and I think we've kind of, beat this dead horse many, many times, but if we don't do anything, the township can go bankrupt. The township, we could lose the golf course, we could lose the water authority and things of that nature. And a big part of their task is not only just creating a sustainable budget this year, but for the next 5 years, 10 years, and down the road, and save those assets. So it's going to be it's a tough task, and I look forward to hearing from them.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe.
Okay. So before the board takes action, is there any comment from the public? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. So you'll inform the people that have been appointed, and I want to thank
Absolutely.
everyone. And I look forward to hearing their recommendations, which we should probably start hearing by budget time in the fall if you're going to convene this committee.
Absolutely, we'll convene as soon as possible.
Okay, all right. Next up is appointment to the EAC, the Environmental Advisory Council. Is there a motion to appoint someone to that vacancy?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Mr. Don Gleiter for the lone remaining vacancy.
Is second, Mr. McPhillips. Is there any discussion from the board? I understand he has an extensive resume, though, from what I've seen.
He does.
Yeah, so-
Aerospace engineer.
Yeah, we don't want them kind of people involved. That's terrific. That's really good that people like that step up. Okay, is there any discussion from the public? Seeing I call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
The chair
Thank you,
votes aye.
Donald.
The chair votes aye. Donald, you're in the house. Oh,
Yes.
okay, yeah, okay.
Hi, Donald.
It's a surprise to me. I didn't know you were putting my name in,
Hey, just let the cat out of the bag. Yeah. Okay.
Peek behind the curtain, how politics really works. My God, bro.
Donald, did you work at NADC?
I do have his name in
Did you?
here, though.
26 years.
Is that right? We'll have to chat after the meeting.
Responsible for the pollution.
No, but I'd love to hear some of the stuff you were involved in, though. So we'll chat after the meeting a little bit, would be great. Okay, next up is Fund Balance Policy Resolution 2018-18. I'm going to give it to Mr. Schuster, and I think Mr. Macarelli's here to go over this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Marcarelli will talk on items C and D, but just to set this up, we think it's important to have good policies around our finances. These policies dictate how the department works, the finance department works, but also the whole entire operation. The fund balance policy talks about how much, what our target range is for fund balance and what happens if it goes above or below the target range. And the time-sensitive bills authorization discusses memorializing kind of the current practice of approving some bills prior to them getting to the Board of Supervisors for various reasons. So with that, I'll turn it over to John to go over the two policies. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. You may approve these tonight, or if you'd like, you can certainly defer action to a future meeting.
You're going to review both of these policies, and we'll take separate action on each, correct?
Correct.
Go ahead, John.
First is the
Tell us
fund.
who you are.
I'm John Marcarelli. I'm the Director of Finance for the Township. First, the fund balance policy. It's basically a good business practice for a few reasons. First, it assures that the Township adheres to the most current, what we're called generally accepted accounting practices. They're established by a group called the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, or GASB for short, and they're the official body that pronounces what the accounting rules should be for governments and municipalities like ours. It also provides for a long-range financial strategy, not just 1 year at a time, but we look at like the finances on a day-to-day basis, but we look at it year to year and on a long-range picture as well. It helps us for like weathering lean years. There's some years that we may have unanticipated expenditures that are large, that it gives you a little bit of a cushion to deal with things like that. Or if you, on the other hand, you have good years, Mr. Schuster mentioned that there's a couple of times where our revenues were up. So we're actually increasing fund balance. So it provides a strategy for how do you deal with that money. So, I'm not going to go through the whole resolution because I'm sure it's been there in front of you. But the fund balance categories: there's non-spendable, there's restricted fund balance, there's committed fund balance, assigned fund balance, and unassigned fund balance. The categories are defined in more or less a hierarchical order by nature. So the most restricted is like the most tied down. The unassigned is the most available, I guess, for using for different expenditures. Part of the policy is also to establish a practice to how do you discuss that in the budget deliberations. So we want to have good information as part of the budget process itself. So when we have use of we have revenues, we have expenditures, and there are times that fund balance is needed to help close the gap, if you will. So basically, it's a good business practice, and it does establish target range. The target range for what we would want to establish for a fund balance is 15 to 20%, and that's either your total revenues or your total expenditures. I think total expenditures might be the better guide because you want to have a little bit more stable, like whereas Mr. Schuster said, the revenues are the ones that could go up and down. The expenditures are somewhat more stable. So that's a better guide for establishing the target range for what our fund balance would be. So that's kind of the fund balance policy in a nutshell. I'd stop there if there's anybody has any questions about that, or.
I think you explained it really well. Thank you.
Thank you. The resolution's rather lengthy and detailed, but a basis to get to the resolution is what is referred to as GASB Statement 54. So that's very thorough. So we're adhering to the most current accounting principle for that. The other policy is it's for establishing advanced approval of certain accounts payable items. And this resolution sort of basically memorializes a practice the township has been doing for easily a number of years. There's certain bills that are time-sensitive, and the meetings are once or perhaps twice a month, but we have expenditures that need to be paid ongoing. So this resolution will establish or formalize a practice that we're doing, that we're making payments, we're paying invoices, we're paying payroll, things like that. There's a list of 8 items on the resolution. If you want, perhaps I just read off the list of 8. Payroll and payroll payables, insurance premiums, credit card payments, debt service payments, prompt payment of invoices for financial advantage or avoidance of late fees, utility bills, postage payments that are required to be paid in advance. For things like newsletter mailings, we have to pay the postage first, and contractual obligations that may require advance payment. So these are invoices that are types of expenses that are required to be paid on a very timely basis. So by doing this practice and now memorializing this practice, we're trying to avoid late fees or any undue interest costs, things like that. So another good business practice. We've been doing it, and now we're formalizing it. So.
Okay.
Mr. Monroe, you had something? Go ahead.
Actually, you just answered my question right there. I was just going to say, so this is something that we've already been doing. We're just putting it, we're documenting it.
We're documenting it
Okay.
now, so.
If I can add, this is something that's relatively common in municipalities. It becomes a little more critical for us because we typically only meet once a month. And if we're going to say that we are not going to pay any bills until that one meeting, that could put us in jeopardy in certain areas. And we will continue to always wait and pay, for you to approve the bills prior to pay them when we can. But in those 8 circumstances, we don't want any harm to befall the township waiting for a meeting and you guys to approve it.
Yeah, it looks like you found a hole with respect to the documentation, and you just were covering that hole and making sure we're doing it the right way.
We just want
housekeeping.
It is housekeeping. It's not changing the operations. We just want to make sure that what we are doing, although it's been the past practice, is being done with the full knowledge and approval of the board.
Okay. And then just to move backwards with respect to the fund balance policy, and I've already pretty much got my answers on this as well. But just to clarify, so that the 12% is about $1.8 million, and once we, give or take, once we fall below that, and we meet that threshold, that forces the conversation about what we're going to do in order to resolve the issue.
To replenish, yes.
Right. Okay.
And there's the other side too. Once you go over, in this policy, you go over 20%, then you need to find ways to bring the fund balance down, and there's ways of using that.
Yeah, I think we're going to find plenty of ways in the next couple of years.
Sorry, the budget committee is going to find this.
Right.
So.
Just on the advance approval resolution, all bills are approved by the board before we pay them. Like the bills list that was just approved, there'll be a lot of checks going out tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But there's certain that were already paid out. And we do define that on the bills list, ones that are like the pre-approved type. Yeah. But we're still coming to the board to approve all payments. It's just that we're being allowed to make payments in advance of the formal meeting. So,
Understood. Mm-hmm.
So.
Thank you.
Everything appears on the bill list, and the bill list is also public
Everything's on the
record.
bill list.
Anyone that
Yes.
would like to review the bill list is always public record, so.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Does anyone have anything else for Mr. Macarelli,
Thank
Vice
you.
Chair?
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the fund balance policy 2018-18. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Mr. Monroe, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Frescatore, any further discussion from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next up is consider approval of Resolution 2018-19, authorizing the township manager to approve time-sensitive bills, which we just reviewed. Is there any further discussion from the board?
No.
Any from the public? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion carries. Okay, next up is,
Make a motion?
yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You did.
Yeah. Okay.
We're moving right along.
Yeah, moving right along. Next up, professionals reports, Township Manager, Mr. Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You all have my written report in case you have any questions. Earlier, I had distributed the OPEB, that's the Other Post-Employment Benefits report. That's required by GASB 45. It goes over the 3-year actuarial valuation of mainly our retirees' health benefits. There was a slight decrease in the overall liability from the last 3 years. Although it doesn't get into the details, I can surmise that it's most likely be due to a changeover in the non-uniform contract, which eliminates the post-employment benefit for new hires effective 2013 on the non-uniform side. If there's any questions, feel free to come and discuss it and go through that report. I had mentioned earlier about the golf course. We're very excited for that restaurant to move into full swing. We encourage everyone to go there. We are also the beneficiary of some local golf courses planning to close. We've already seen a number of leagues move over to Five Ponds. So from the golf perspective, it's going to be relatively booked. We anticipate a good year as long as the weather cooperates. And the last thing I had was already mentioned a couple times, Warminster Day, June 9th. It's going to be a great time. Karen Whitney's been working very hard on it, so I just encourage everyone to mark that on their calendar and come out for a good day.
I want to thank Mr. Kennard. Ms. Schuster, Ms. Whitney just informed me that Gilmore and Associates has taken a big sponsorship out, so you may have gotten us over the top of our target, so we appreciate it. Thank you. Anything from Mr. Schuster? Okay. Solicitors report. Mr. Bartle.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board has all received my 4-page report from our office, and if there's any questions on that, I'll be happy to answer them. I would like to point out one particular matter on the report, and that is the 2017 refuse and light bill delinquency collections. A collection grid has been prepared of all property owners delinquent in the payment of their 2017 refuse and light bills as applicable. Approximately 80 property owners are delinquent. Copies of the bills have been provided by our tax collector. We thank her for that. We've established a 2-part process with regard to the collection. This is after these bills are delinquent, of course. Will consist of a couple of things. Number one, sending out a delinquency notice with the bill at issue attached to all delinquent property owners and providing them a courtesy 30-day period to pay all amounts owing without additional cost and fees. And then if the payment is not remitted as required, in other words, if not paid after it was due and after the 30-day grace period and delinquency notice was provided. Then the filing of a municipal claim, which will include the amount owing, interest, penalty costs, and attorney's fees. The delinquency letter has been drafted and is currently being reviewed by the Township's Finance Department, and the letters, of course, were scheduled to be sent this week. Okay.
Anyone have anything for Mr. Bartle? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is engineers report. Mr. Kennard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have our April report. Just a couple comments related to township projects. And I did mention this at the last meeting, but it's official that we did submit your park projects up to DEP, Conservation District, and also PennDOT for review and comment. So that happened right at the end of March and beginning of April here.
And how long is that process? And so we actually...
Yeah, I was prepped for that question because I don't know. The first, the county will look at a compliance review. You get
so
through
that's
that.
for the county piece.
Karen, I asked for the update today. She's anticipating those comments like right now.
Okay, that's not the state grant, that's the county.
No, that's the county, yeah. And then, well, it's going up to the state then. The county reviews it to go up to DEP. Just like, I don't know if anybody knows, but erosion control, that starts at the county level, but ultimately, if it needs a bigger permit or there's a fine or violations, you guys hear a lot of complaints, that also goes up enforced by DEP. But in Bucks County, they give the county more latitude to enforce and you know, monitor all that. So they also do that with their permits as well. So they'll do more of a compliance review and then ship it up to DEP. PennDOT, look, everybody's, we've been through with PennDOT. Hopefully, we'll put some pressure to get those comments to township projects, so they typically try to work with us.
Right, and we're not applying for a highway permit or anything like that, right?
Yes, we are, yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for the
Bristol Road.
entrance.
I thought we weren't. Oh.
Yes, so. The other thing is the road program is ready to go. In fact, I know Eric is anxious to get started. We did help with, we had one change per Public Works. We went out for a hauling contract, so that was advertised. The bid opening for the hauling contract for your materials, remember, you're doing most of your own paving, so you do need someone to haul the material. That bid opening will be May 4th. And then as far as your schedule, upcoming schedule, I anticipate 1270 Mearns Road at your next board meeting, depending on how Planning Commission goes. I think everybody's fully aware of that. So that's the one, obviously, big job.
Is that Doucher's Farm?
Doucher's Farm.
Is that Doucher's?
Yes.
Doucher's Farm.
I haven't done 1270 Mearns Road. And then there's another development that's been going on for quite some time. It's called Mara. It's 1020 Bristol Road. It's an office complex. They have zoning relief now, and they should be in the CU at your May 17th meeting. Excuse me. And outside of that, that's your only project.
Do you mind touching on Lidl? I know they were into a recent illegal engineer meeting. I believe they're going to go back through land development, I think.
Going
Is
back
that-
again.
Right, so it's just for the public's edification. That's one of the number one questions we get asked.
Their schedule, they weren't in a hurry. You know, we had a couple projects like that. They made some additional changes. They had some easement issues. That really was the delay. Then they made some changes that affected, they were big enough changes, and you don't hear this much, but significant enough or big enough on the land development you already approved to come back in and have to ask for reapproval. So those changes are not directed or caused by the township staff or any agencies or professionals. So that's something that it was self-induced. We work with them behind the scenes. So after we thought we were done with all the easements and cross easements,
And we
they
thought
came
they were
back and
close to being at the finish line.
yeah, so, and, you know, we're trying to work with the next door Sportsplex and that shopping center owner, and that, I think, changed hands, and that got a little complicated as well, so what thought would be an easy project to move forward. I don't know how long ago you approved that, but it's been a while.
Well, is there any timeline on the new land development application, or is there any idea?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They said as quickly as possible they'd like to come back in for their new plans and get moving again.
Correct,
So,
but we're not going to be the holdup.
No,
They
it's-
have to do a new HOP.
Yeah, they're gonna
And
have
that's
to
gonna
do
be what's
fully
gonna take
new
long.
rendered engineered plans. They're scrapping
So
what
we,
they
we won't see them until 19, most likely, I'm sure.
I was
I'm
just gonna
sure
say,
we
you're gonna, and then the related to 19 is Weiss, and I don't know if that was mentioned before or not, and I apologize if it was, but Weiss is delayed until 2019 as well. So both those projects won't be completed till,
And
I don't know when they'll get started, but
Well, we
definitely
actually
won't
ran
be
into a
completed
few
till
Weiss
2019.
executives at the Brad Fox 5K, and they told me that we have a couple other stores that we're working, and we only do a couple at a time, and when they're done, we'll be moving on to yours.
And, you know, to be honest with you, staff jump, I mean, this is what's tough. Big jobs like that, we know, we're all on the same page. Warminster's great about the staff meetings every 2 weeks. Amanda's quarterback and everything every week, and we try to all jump on those and want to help the larger projects, and then it stops and starts. And these are two examples of Weiss. You know, we really worked on that one and got that through with the
We
gas
got them,
pumps.
yeah,
and-
we did good for them. That was going on 2 years ago now.
I think everybody's fully aware that the township staff and professionals on these bigger jobs, we prioritize really well. We coordinate really well together. And if we don't, Mr. Schuster's all over us. So
Yeah, well, for the public's edification, this isn't, staff can't demand it. Go ahead and put a shovel in the ground. Their approvals are done. It's totally up to them when
I'm
they,
going to take Weiss off my report. It's
Like,
no sense to have
till
it
they pull a building permit.
Yeah, I don't want to kill another tree and go to page 5 or 6. So when I sit down with Karen, we go through that. Like, hey, it's no sense for you even to read that anymore unless there's an update. So sorry, bearer of bad news, but.
as long as we know they're still coming, they're still coming. It's in the pipeline. How about Steak and Shake? I see they're moving right along over there.
What I'm going to start doing is bringing my daily construction reports
Yeah.
instead of my engineer's report for planning, because really that's the most of the questions I get. As far as the last report I got last week, everything's, unless Amanda has something that came up this week, they're moving right along.
Yeah.
Burger King did jump into another one. When we try to help get someone in store right away, you know, sometimes all the paving's not done or landscaping, and I think you guys are fully aware of, you know, we try to get the store open and then the site work sometimes is dragging behind. In this case, I guess there was a complaint that I have to go over with the township. I received a text message about paving and someone tripping because they didn't do their final paving. They were safe enough, but then there's a lip between the concrete curb and the paving, and yeah, and that's an issue. Well, that's a ADA accessibility L&I issue. That's not something I can do. And then also, if it's in PennDOT's right of way, it's fully their jurisdiction. So sometimes that did come up this week and that's where we jump on those as well. We try to.
Did we get a target date for Steak and Shake when they think they might be open? Amanda, any idea?
They told us originally it was 16 weeks from when they started construction to when they ended. But the
Like
building
something by the
doesn't
fall?
look like a building right now, so
No.
I'm not sure how long it's going to take.
Okay.
And, we're hearing rumblings of a couple more projects, large projects coming in, so over the next month, we should have a couple more staff meetings and a few more sketch plans and projects to look at.
And I have to tell you, I hear rave reviews from applicants on our process. I mean, for people that don't know, the staff assembles every other Tuesday for a legal and engineering meeting, and anyone that's interested in doing a project in Warminster comes in at no expense and meets with the staff, just so they know take the temperature of the staff, know what we're looking for as a board. It just helps get through the process. I hear rave reviews about what you guys are doing. It's a great process.
Yeah, I know that's not directed just to me, because it's I've been here 10 years, this is the best it's ever been by
Yeah.
far. It's efficient, the communication is, and I think that's, Greg's strong suit. Amanda's on top of everything, even with some changes going on internally and externally, this is the best it's been.
It sends a strong message out there that we're open for business, and we want good, responsible businesses to come to Warminster.
And I know I'm way past my 2 minutes.
I know you are, but I'm dragging it out too.
I was at a hockey banquet, Central Bucks, and heard 3 separate people compliment the Five Ponds Golf Course, not even knowing anything about me, what I do. They don't even treat it as a public course anymore. Heard that the weather was nice and a great local course to go to. So I know you guys are proud of that. We're part of that, helping out maintain that as far as stormwater projects and improvements. And I just kind of laughed because they didn't know I was listening. And 3 different individuals complimented how great shape the course was. They were talking about last year when they played, and they're coming back already. So.
Good. It's good to hear. Does anyone have anything else for Mr. Kennard?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kennard. Detailed report. Okay, number 10, Township Manager's announcement of upcoming agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Kennard said, we are planning to have Doucher's Farm on your, well, let me start by saying, if there's no objection, I'd like to cancel the May 3rd meeting.
Objection.
The Doucher's Farm is scheduled to be on the meeting after that, on the 17th. We'll, of course, see what happens with the Planning Commission and schedule accordingly. At the moment, we have it planned for both the traffic engineer and the township planner to come in and start a conversation about the Jacksonville Road Corridor and some concepts about that and some initiatives we'd like to talk over with the board about how we can make sure that the redevelopment of Jacksonville Road is to your liking and within the long-range plans. We think it could be a gem of a street and really a centerpiece for the township. So we want to go ahead and talk over that initiative with you. The Public Works Director should be here giving a presentation on both CIP and the roads. And we also anticipate the first budget amendment of the year.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Next up is our second round of public comment. Is there any comment from the public? Jack, how are you?
Glad to see you're watching our dollars. Only one question, there's the elephant in the room, and that's the great unknown, and Mr. Schuster indicated that by the end of the quarter, we might have an idea if our investment company has been meeting their minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, we actually have the Pension Investment Advisory Council meeting next Thursday. They'll be giving us the report then. It's a public meeting. It's at 4:30 in this room. You're more than welcome to attend.
Just as long as we hear good or bad, things
We're
are
hoping
looking.
to hear good.
They
I
should
mean-
be looking good. Let's say
Should. The market's been good.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and look at everything. It measures everything against the benchmark. I can tell you I did get numbers for 2017. It took a little time to go ahead and put together from the previous investment advisor with the current investment advisor, but it's looking about the return was slightly over 16%.
That's wonderful.
It's wonderful that it's at 16%. One of the things you have to look at very carefully, though, is what the benchmark is. So, yeah, it's great to have 16%, but if the market did 20%, you know, you're 4% off the market. So I would say that the 16%, based on what I've seen right now, is good. It's in the ballpark of where the market is, but not as good as I would hope for in an actively managed portfolio. As you know, we did change investment advisors. But it's one of those things. And if you please come to that meeting and we talk all about measuring things against the benchmark. You know, for instance, if you look at first quarter of 2018, if we came in at 4%, you know, you might say, well, that's just awful. Well, if the market came in at 2%, you know, that's actually 4% is pretty good. We just beat the market by 2%. So you always have to measure it, you know, against the benchmark.
Well, that's true.
I think you should come. You'd be very impressed with this group that we hired. They're really sharp. They are.
Well, we're glad to hear it.
Thursday at 4:30.
Is there any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move on to supervisor's comment. Ms. Frescatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank all of our professionals for doing a phenomenal job and all my colleagues for a very productive meeting. Also, I'd like to wish my husband a happy 41st anniversary. He's awesome.
Is that why he was out washing both of the cars the other day?
I give him a big kiss after that.
I would have if he would have done mine, but he said he was too busy.
He was noticed too. And I'd like to say congratulations to Villanova Wildcats for winning the national championship. And go Sixers. And that's it, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Monroe.
Just to second what Ms. Frescatore said, I thought it was a very productive meeting, and like I said, believe it or not, I'm very excited about this budget board, so that's all.
Thank you, Mr. McPhillips.
Yeah, I should have brought this up during the manager's report, but Rosemore Donuts, Norrisville.
That's, you know what, that's risen to number one question, by the way. I get it constantly.
Can we send someone over to clean it up?
Well, we can find them. We send them the void violation process. Yeah, well, it's on the list for constant review, but I'll take another look at it, yes.
Perfect, yeah, I appreciate that.
And also say that if anyone's interested in buying it, it's a very valuable piece of property. I'm sure it could be developed into something useful, and we'd love to work with anyone who would like to make that.
I think Rosemore Donuts would have done quite well there, I do. It's a shame.
But that's all.
Okay, Mr. Crowley.
Not much tonight. It was a good meeting. Appreciate everybody coming out, especially with a lot of agenda. Thursday, September 6th, at H1, the Eagles open with the Falcons. The schedule came out, so I would suggest that we don't have a meeting on Thursday, September 6th.
We won't.
It's just merely a suggestion. Nothing set in stone. But just want to thank the staff for all their hard work. You guys do a lot. You don't get recognized a lot. Get yelled at a lot. But you work very hard for all of us, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
And the only comments I have is I'll miss you guys up at PSATs. This is the first year I'm not going. And the reason I'm not is my niece is getting married, and she's given me the great honor of walking her up the aisle. And she's getting married downtown, and we're going to spend a few days in town. And I'm thrilled because I only have one son. I don't have a daughter, and I'm thrilled. But I'll miss you guys. Please send me some pictures, send me some text. I'd appreciate it. And thanks, Dan. Thanks for taking my spot. Thanks for taking my spot as a voting delegate. And that's all I have. And like I said, I want to thank the staff again. I get rave reviews on these legal and engineering meetings of the process that we have set up here. I really do. So let's keep it going. And that's all I have. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. McPhillips, meeting adjourned.